The average storyteller or content marketer, I'll use them interchangeably.
Okay.
We spend on average $1 on distribution for every $5 we spend on creation. So what I found in our industry is that content marketers are very owned media centric. So I call it the publish and pray model. You create your content, you hit publish, you email your list, you put it on your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whatever you put it on, and set it and forget it. Maybe you do a couple more promotions a month later or whatever. Now, the average television advertising executive, for every $1 they spend on creative, they spend $5 on its distribution. Now, that's a complete opposite mindset. And in today's internet world, with so much content inundating the internet, and there's so much competition for attention and eyeballs, we really need to flip that.
From cave drawings to family histories to stories around the fire, humans crave order among chaos, connection amid isolation. So we tell stories. Our mission at the Storytellers Network is to bring the art of story to the masses. Whether you're in marketing, you're an entrepreneur, or you're developing your own personal brand, telling your story effectively can make the difference between celebrating milestones and collecting unemployment. The Storytellers Network strives to help storytellers tell their stories so you can learn from the best. Now, your host, Dan Moyle.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Dan Moyle, your host, and I so appreciate you tuning into the Storytellers Network. I believe in the power of story. I believe in the power of story for businesses, for personal brands, for just general human connection, for ending racism, for just connecting us. I mean, just everything. Just story is powerful, but it also doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. And so in today's show, we're going to explore what it means to the guest, what storytelling really is, and how maybe it's not exactly what you think. So stay tuned for that. It's amazing. I'm really appreciative of my guest today, as I always am. But before we get started, just a quick reminder, everything you need to know about storytelling, whether it's inspiration, whether it's tactics, strategy, is at thestorytellersnetwork.com. I've got some resources there of people much smarter than me that give you the how-tos, and then past episodes from fantastic storytellers around the world. So go to thestorytellersnetwork.com for all of that. There's even a contact me page if you want to tell me your story or just ask me a question and connect. So it's there. And if you're new, text the word storytellers to 31996. Do that one again. 31996. Text storytellers to that, and you can get a text back that asks you to subscribe, and you can get all that going on. And so today's guest is the co-founder of Relevance, the world's first website dedicated to content distribution and promotion, news, and insights. He also teaches content marketing at Rutgers Business School with Mark Schaefer, and he is a member of the advisory board for native advertising platforms Empowered and AdHive. He's also the VP of marketing at Empowered. So this guy knows what he's doing. He's a member of the Forbes Top 100 list. Chad authored the Native Advertising Manifesto, the Content Marketing Promotion Manifesto, and 51 Things Your Mother Taught You About Inbound Marketing. This guy is a business storyteller, and I'm so excited to have him on. We get into a bunch of stuff really deep, and I think you're going to love it. So I'll shut up and let Chad tell his story. So let's get to Chad's stories. So thanks for taking time to join me today, Chad. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, Dan, I'm surprised it's taking this long for us to get together and do this.
Well, it's one of those things where this season that I'm recording for, you are a business storyteller, and that was the title of my season. I thought, man, I got to talk to Chad. We've had plenty of conversations ourselves, online, in person, but I thought this has to happen. So,
oh yeah, me too.
So let me start here then. Business storytellers. Do you consider yourself a storyteller, Chad?
So, it's weird. I've got a very unique take on storytelling, and I think we'll probably get into that a little bit today. I didn't start off as a storyteller. I actually came in last decade in the industry when I got back from the Iraq War as a technical SEO guy.
Yeah.
And then, as you are well aware, SEO started to evolve with the Penguin and Panda updates. And it wasn't – basically, if you wanted to do well in SEO, once those two updates hit, you had to create good content. So that's when I started creating content late last decade. About 2008 is when I really started to blog. But that was the new SEO, basically. In fact, I did back in 2010 or 11, I think I did a webinar called Inbound Marketing is the New SEO.
Mm.
And essentially what I was saying in there, and I backed it up with data, was that, look, good content creation is how you do well in the search engines. And that's really when you could say I started telling stories.
And you've been kind of beating that inbound marketing drum for a while. Do you see that continuing still today in 2019?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I beat the inbound marketing drum. Here's what I'd say. As far as the principles of inbound marketing, I believe that just gets you to the starting line.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's just the start. Augmenting that with earned media and native advertising, social media, paid media advertising is almost necessary depending on your industry. There's so much noise out there. There's so much content, and the quantity of content on the internet just grows every year. I've seen it year over year over year. And if you want to stand out in the crowd, you really have to augment your inbound marketing with some earned and or paid media. Now, I work for a paid media company. Empowered is a technically we're called a DSP in the industry, or demand side platform. So we're an artificial intelligence layer that sits over 40 native advertising and social media networks. So rather than going to Facebook and then going to Outbrain or Taboola individually, we allow people to scale their amplification and content distribution on over 40 channels, including social channels.
Okay. And that's important, obviously. I mean, you're in that business, but also just you believe in that. That's important for brands to use more than just one platform and to really do it intelligently, all right?
Yeah, and strategically. And the fact of the matter is you can write the best story or create the best story on video or do the best podcast or do the best whatever. If nobody sees it, it's not the best.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, distribution's huge.
Yeah.
So, Chad, your website describes you as an author, an international speaker, a marketing professor. What does that mean to you on a day-to-day basis? That's your 30,000 view foot, but what does that mean on a day-to-day thing for you?
Well, honestly, it's my ball and chain.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do anything else with my career than what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. It's not a job. I did actually recently quit teaching at Indiana University last spring. It was just becoming too much because all the travel. I just taught one day a week for 2 hours and 40 minutes, believe it or not.
Wow.
But because of travel requirements for the other stuff that I do, I couldn't maintain it. Now, I still teach for Rutgers online. Since it's online, it's much more convenient. I actually work with Ian Cleary and Mark Schaefer and Rutgers content marketing program.
Awesome. Good trio of guys right there, really changing the world for future marketers, right?
I love those guys.
I think you guys are awesome. So,
yeah, I love those guys. Ian's been doing a bunch of new video stuff lately. I don't know if you've seen it online, but it's pretty funny. Shout out to Ian. You're doing great storytelling with video.
Awesome. I'll have to invite him on then to talk a little bit about that. Maybe I've got Mark on this season too, so I read his book and it just blew my mind. I mean, it's not necessarily new. I mean, I'm sure you and I probably have seen this stuff coming for a while, and a lot of people have, but like, holy cow, he lays it out in a way that just, it blew my skirt up, man. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So
no, Mark is a very, very talented guy. I consider him one of my mentors. I look up to him.
Yeah.
He gives me lots of great advice all the time. He actually, his last book, he asked me to write a small section for his book, and I did, on content distribution. Of course. And I'm proud that I got that opportunity. I'm glad he afforded me that opportunity.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So Chad, I want to go back to, you talked about native advertising, and between that and all the changes in marketing, how does all of that impact storytelling for those of us who consider ourselves storytellers?
Well, unfortunately, let me take a step back. So I've done, over the years, I've done lots and lots of different types of research.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is this. The average storyteller or content marketer, I'll use them interchangeably.
Okay.
We spend on average $1 on distribution for every $5 we spend on creation. So what I found in our industry is that content marketers are very owned media centric. So I call it the publish and pray model. You create your content, you hit publish, you email your list, you put it on your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whatever you put it on, and set it and forget it. Maybe you do a couple more promotions a month later or whatever. Now, the average television advertising executive, for every $1 they spend on creative, they spend $5 on its distribution. Now, that's a complete opposite mindset. And in today's internet world, with so much content inundating the internet, and there's so much competition for attention and eyeballs, we really need to flip that. And some companies are starting to do this, some brands are, but we need to start thinking as storytellers like television advertising executives. Once we get our mind fixed onto that ratio of distribution to creative, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more success in our storytelling, because not only does that help with the distribution, but that scale of distribution also provides a very powerful and quick feedback loop for us as storytellers to make our content better.
Okay. So I want to poke the bear a little bit and dive into marketing, or dive into advertising. So many people nowadays say that we're very good at ignoring ads.
Yeah.
I mean, I even say it, and I do it too. So when you talk about advertising and spending $5 on advertising and distribution, not just advertising, I know that, distribution and advertising, versus $1 on content creation, how can you show that we don't ignore every ad? I guess would be my question to start with.
Right. So let me delineate between traditional digital advertising and native advertising. So native advertising is simply advertising that matches the form, feel, and function of the organic content which surrounds it. Okay. So what that means is it looks like it's supposed to be there. So a good example of that would be, say, a Facebook ad. Okay. In feed, not a display ad off to the right on a desktop. That's not native advertising. That is a form of advertising that doesn't get ignored like the other interrupted forms of advertising. I can tell you that our technology is built in a way with artificial intelligence to go after just the people that will engage with content. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say you are a customer of Empowered and you spend, I don't know, let's say $10,000 a month with Empowered. You are not going to pay us per click on Facebook or per click on Outbrain or per click on whatever channel. You are only going to pay us if somebody engages with that content for 15 seconds or longer. So we're on a CPE, or cost per engagement model. We're the only company in the world right now, unless somebody just launched it like last week, that offers that. So it completely knocks out people ignoring the advertising or clicking and then bouncing. Now, why that 15-second mark is so important is simple. A company called Chartbeat Analytics, who powers much of the analytics for major publishers, with millions and millions of data points, figured out that at 15 seconds of engagement or longer, the average user consume, or 70% of the users consume 80% or more of the content. And that includes video content as well. So that's why we set that benchmark, and that's how we eliminate paid media waste, which it's rife with waste, especially with bots.
Yeah.
Right? Bots are a major problem. I mean, if you look at Procter and Gamble, I think it was last summer. It might have been the summer before that. I'll have to look it back up. But they eliminated millions and millions and millions of dollars from their online paid media from interruptive advertising, and they found no impact on their business, positive or negative.
Interesting. All right. So it's about fitting into the lives of people rather than interrupting. So it's still
exactly
kind of an inbound feel, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say that native advertising is the closest to inbound paid media can get.
Yeah. And I don't think that inbound has to be non-paid. I mean, that's something that I think people struggle on or kind of get stuck on is like, well, inbound just is free. Like, no, it's first of all, it's never free. There's time, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Which time costs money, but then you can pay for that attention. It's not inherently evil. Anyway, yeah, I love geeking out about that kind of stuff. So I want to get a little bit out of that mindset and talk a little bit more about story than Chad. What you said earlier that you have a different take on storytelling. I want to hear that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I came up in SEO last decade, and I know you remember SEO last decade. It was not what it is today. It was. We did keyword stuffing, we stuffed page titles, we did, all that. We do our keyword research, and we build links. I mean, some of the stuff that I did back then, I mean, I wrote an article on the Huffington Post called True Confessions of a Former SEO Whore. Really outlining the stuff that I did back then that now would be considered black hat, right? But anyway, so with me coming up in SEO, I am intimately familiar with the different aspects of Google, okay? The different aspects of the search engine, their search engine guidelines, their recommendations, so on and so forth. And if you look at Google as an example, if you do a search, you're going to get their instant answers. They're going to recommend different things to click on really quick. Boom, boom, boom. Everything with Google's about speed. You're rewarded for fast page load time. They've got the Google knowledge graph, right? Boom, they put the answer right there on Google, so you don't even have to click through. Everything's about speed. Storytelling, actually, let me take a step back. People only go to the web for two reasons: to solve a problem or to be entertained quickly. If you think about that statement I just made, if you really think about it, everything everyone does online goes back to those two things. Now, you could really say people only go to the web to solve problems, because if you need entertained, that's your problem you're trying to solve. But I like to separate the two because they're two different types of content, right? So if you look at Google as an example, quick answers, solve a problem quick. And then you look at storytelling. I would argue that the best content on the internet isn't storytelling content. It's content that solves problems the quickest and the best. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Potentially, you as a company might want to solve a problem like, well, you used to be in the mortgage business, so maybe a mortgage issue, okay? Now, you can write a 12,000 word story about how to solve this one simple problem that somebody else could solve in 600 words, right? I would argue that 600 word article that solves the problem quickly and does it well and maybe uses some storytelling is better than that 10,000 word article or 12,000 word article or whatever. So that's where I kind of have a different take on storytelling. I think storytelling can be overdone, when the point is to actually solve someone's problem online. So you got to really balance the two.
Yeah. I think it's important. And I think it's important to kind of help people to see is that storytelling doesn't have to be epic, right? You can tell that story very concisely in order to reach people's emotions. Even when you're helping them and showing them how to, you can use an anecdote or something small as a story. It doesn't have to be the hero's journey for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's my take on it. There's some people out there in our business that just preach storytelling, and then it's the whole publish and pray model that really, I mean, in today's day and age, you can't publish and pray. It doesn't matter how good, the content is, how well of a story you're telling, if it's epic, if it's not epic. When you're going up against millions and millions of other search engine results, you have to tell the best story the quickest you can to solve the problem and promote the hell out of it through earned and paid media.
Yeah. And where it used to be, you'd go to link farms for those referrals and stuff. What do we do today to make that community a little bit better, to make our community better in order to distribute some things organically?
Well, it starts with having that 1-to-5 ratio, $1 of creation for every $5 in distribution. That's where we got to start. We got to rewire our minds. We got to think about that in our budgets. Now, one of the biggest problems with that is, especially at the enterprise level, is the silos. So I've had people come up to me at Content Marketing World, at Inbound, and they're like, Chad, we love what you're saying and we love all this, but that money's over here in this silo, and I got to go beg them for money. Well, we need to rewire our brains. It shouldn't be like that. Content marketing and inbound marketing needs to have a budget for distribution.
Yeah, that's an important note to make. All right, so I want to ask about a platform thing. We're talking about a little bit about social media, that kind of stuff, and distribution. I've been following you on Twitter for a number of years. And you recently shared something, an article about one of the newest social platforms out there, TikTok. Now, the article asked about if it's a relevant platform for brands. So I want to know, from your perspective, your experience, what do you think about TikTok and short videos and storytellers and brands and all that kind of stuff? What's your take on all of that?
So I don't have much of a take. I'm not a bandwagoneer. I don't jump on the new social channels. In fact, I'm still not on Snapchat. So I don't have much of an opinion on the platform itself and its future. What I can tell you is that I'm not a big video guy. I don't make much video. I mean, yeah, I've got videos of me on stage speaking, but the selfie video thing, I don't know. I just can't get into it. I see them and I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this. I don't want to be preached to, right? So, like, I've got a unique take on it in that I'm not a big fan of video. Now, that said, I do have a sweet tooth for YouTube reaction videos. In fact, I'm going to admit to you, before I got on this call, I spent about 2 hours watching YouTube reaction videos this morning because they crack me up.
Yeah.
And I watched the one that I really like to watch is called Frankenstein's Lab. And it's these two black guys that get stoned. Now, I'm not a pot smoker. I know you're in Michigan, so it's medical. It's legal up there.
Oh, it's recreational now too, man. So come on up.
Okay. But I go out to California every other week for work, and it's legal there too. So I don't partake, but I see people do. But anyways, so these two guys are just stoned out of their mind watching comedians, and they just laugh the whole time, and it draws me in. I mean, it's not a story. It's like two random high guys just commenting on what they see on YouTube, and it's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
That's funny. So you're not a big video guy. Is what my takeaway from that? I'm always trying to think of marketing. I'm just in that mindset all the time. You can't be everything to everyone. For somebody who thinks, well, I got to be on video, I've got to be on TikTok, I got to do the next big thing. That might be where your audience is, but your audience isn't going to be Chad Pollitt, right? You can't be everything to everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Is that a good encouragement?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. But I mean, I keep an eye on the new platforms. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I pay attention. But I mean, just with the big three, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, I mean, that takes maybe 2 dozen hours a week of my time.
Yeah.
Right. I start adding more platforms to that. That's gonna just there's not enough hours in the day to be everywhere.
Sure.
I'm glad Google got rid of Google Plus because that's one I could just wipe off. It's done.
Yeah. But just automate it. That's fine. Just automate everything. Bots, we're fine, right?
Yeah. That's one thing I don't do. I do no automate. Never have.
Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of automation because, like, in this, I mean, not to like try and change your mind, but this for me, Twitter is definitely about conversation, but it's also about broadcast. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And so I don't mind some automation, but the problem is when all you do is automate, and that's it. Like then what's the point? I don't care. I want interaction. I watch a TV show, for instance, A Million Little Things, and the creator DJ Nash is on Twitter. Guy's only got about 6,000 followers. So when you interact with him, he's there. If all he ever did was automate, like, here's the newest thing, here's the newest episode or whatever, man, I don't care. But the fact that he talks to people and retweets them or converses and engage, man, I'm in, right? And so, I mean, we even watch the finale live because we stream, but we watch the finale live in part because of how he interacts. So yeah, that's huge. Automation is just a tool. It doesn't have to be everything, but or do it at all. Yeah.
Now, personally, I don't automate, but for some of the brand work that I do as the VP of marketing for Empowered, I've got some automation tools that I do use and do some scheduling on Twitter, a little bit on LinkedIn, but Facebook, I do everything by hand. I don't automate any posting to Facebook, but that's just a personal preference for me.
Yeah, and I think it sets you apart. I mean, in the age of everybody automating, if you don't, you're different. So talking about social media, how do you think that has played a part in all of this storytelling and what we do? I don't know. How has it impacted us?
That's a deep question. Man, it's impacted our culture. I mean, it's impacted everything. Now, from a marketing perspective, it's given us a channel. I call social media outside of paid an owned media channel. It's kind of like having an email list, right? Where, well, let's take Twitter for example. Twitter is more broadcasting. It's just like broadcasting to your email list, except a little different in that it's public, right? Yeah. So it's given us a channel to help create our personal brands outside of blogs. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of people. But it's had its cost culturally and politically. I'm not going to get into those details. I mean, all you got to do is turn on the news and you can see it every day.
Yeah.
Are we better off today than in 2003 before MySpace launched? I don't know. As a marketer, I appreciate those channels and I use them constantly and I like them. And I use them to find news, to find the trends that are happening. I call my Twitter feed the pulse of the marketing industry. Like literally in real time, I can see what's happening in our industry in real time, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is. Do you think, so you called social media owned. Is there a grace area there though? Is it rented space? Because if Facebook closes down.
Yeah, it's rented.
Okay.
Or Facebook changes their algorithm and none of your followers can see what you post. Yeah.
That never happens. Come on. We're not the product of Facebook. Yeah, that's it. I like that. It's rented because yeah, things change. And like email. So I heard, gosh, was it Joe Pollitt? Somebody said, like, still today, email is the most powerful channel for us. Like, if you can build an email list, that's where it's at. Like, you use social media, everything else, but if you build that email list, I mean, do you see that? Is email still very powerful?
Email is the most powerful marketing channel that exists.
Yeah.
Okay. On average. The ROI, if you break down, actually, so one of my lectures that I gave at Indiana University dives into this, and it juxtaposes all the different digital marketing channels, and the highest ROI is email. Now, the problem is most companies don't have an email list, or if they do, it's small. So
or purchased.
Or, well, if it's purchased, they better not be emailing it, because I'll tell you, the Canned Spam Act, the most recent one, is going to knock you at like $44,000 per email sent if you purchase a list and start emailing it. That's illegal, both here in the U.S. and Canada and much of the rest of the world. Now, that said, I also know of very large brands that have purchased lists and gone to companies in Russia and had those companies send out emails on their behalf to skirt the Canned Spam Act, which I wouldn't do, but people are doing it.
Yeah. The world's changing, and now, fortunately, and I think, I mean, Mark Schaefer says it, the power continues to go to the hands of the consumer. As brands, we try to fight that sometimes. As marketers, we try to fight that. But man, as a consumer, I love it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Chad, I want to pull out a little bit of the geeking out here. Your knowledge is incredible. Your experience is fantastic. Your insight is amazing. But I want to go back to something you talked about earlier, and I want to check your comfort level on this. I know that you talk about it publicly, but you talked about going from the Iraq War into SEO. How? And I respect the hell out of our soldiers and Marines and sailors and pilots and everybody. And so thank you for your service, first of all. Thank you for what you did for our country.
Oh, you're welcome. I know you are actually involved with some veterans nonprofits, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was heavily involved in the Honor Flight program.
Yeah. I knew that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
ended up. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a privilege. I ended up walking away from that for various reasons, but I still support our veterans. I go on rides for vets and do other stuff and support organizations that do that. But I want to know, I hear so often as a civilian how difficult it is to go from that service into the business world. How was that for you? And is that part of why you went out on your own, because you couldn't necessarily fit into business? You had to do it as an entrepreneur?
No. So I wouldn't call myself a red-blooded entrepreneur. Ironically, I have my undergraduate degree is in entrepreneurship from Indiana University. I was the second class to ever graduate with that degree from that university.
Which seems weird, by the way. Side note, so many entrepreneurs are like, I didn't go to college. And you're like, I have a degree in entrepreneurship. That seems a little bit contradictory. Anyway, go ahead.
So I've been more of an intrapreneur in my career.
Okay.
So starting in 2012 is when I started to get equity stakes in companies and do company rebrands and creating new brands. So I've always been under the umbrella of partners in my entrepreneurial career. So I have not, taken out 2 mortgages on my home to fund this dream. Okay, so I'm not going to give myself that credit. Okay, I know lots of people that have done stuff like that, and more power to them. My problem is I'm very, very risk averse. I always have been. It's just part of my personality. But coming from the war, so actually before the war, so I went to Iraq in 2015, basically the entire year, like to the day. I was in a war zone.
Wow.
Prior to that, I was in sales. And I worked a variety of different sales positions since I graduated college in 1999. But as a side hustle, because I'd meet with all these small business owners, and that was at a time when small businesses were trying to figure out, hey, do I need a website, right? This is like 2000, 2001, 2002. And I was the young guy who knew everything about the web, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it afforded me lots of opportunities for a side hustle to coordinate small business owners with a web developer I knew and a copywriter I knew. Okay. So before I went to the war, that was my side hustle. I was helping small businesses develop websites with my network. Well, I went to the war, I came back, and I went straight to work full time because my job, which veterans know, you can't technically legally lose your job while you're deployed, but they eliminated my job while I was deployed, so I lost my job.
Nice.
I got back. I went in to a web dev shop and did full-time sales for them in 2006. And what made me successful selling in 2006, all the way I sold until 2010. I was in sales, as well as I did project management, SEO, copywriting, some really crappy web design, and some other things, paid media as well. I taught myself SEO. Thank you, former SEO Maz and currently Maz. Their blog was awesome back then.
Yeah.
It still is, by the way. But I taught myself SEO to the point where when I went into a sales call, what I would do is I would dissect that prospect's website from an SEO perspective compared to their competitors. And I'd go in and I'd say, listen, search engine optimization works like this. This is where you suck. This is where your competitors are awesome. I can help you here. And as a result of that, I killed it. Everybody wanted to work with me because I told a different story. This back to storytelling. I told the SEO story. Everyone wanted to rank, right? And I was good at SEO. I was able to get them ranked. And one day I woke up and realized, you know what? This marketing SEO stuff I'm doing is more valuable than the actual sales itself. I'm driving more leads than what I know what to do with. I need to just drive leads and do marketing. And then I transitioned in 2010 full time to marketing.
Gotcha. What can we do as businesses, storytellers, civilians to help those coming back from service? How can we help?
I think the best way to help is to not assume anything about that veteran. The fact of the matter is, my military service has created the businessman that I am today. It gives me the passion and the drive and the work ethic that most don't have. I wrote an article. It's on LinkedIn. If you go to my Twitter account, I've got it pinned at the top. It's called "Going to War Taught Me Life's Most Valuable Lesson." In quotations, embrace the suck. So what the military allowed me to do, well, not allowed, but what it exposed me to was being in some of the worst situations you can possibly imagine being in your life, and embracing those situations and reveling in the fact that you're sleeping in the middle of the woods on the ground, and you got 4 hours to get sleep, and you got to get up and do 20 hours the next day, right, of training, and being sweaty and smelly and stinky and hungry and thirsty. I go to the grocery store today and I see like a mother not embracing the suck and going off on her child or getting all upset with the cashier, right? Well, that's nothing. Once you are exposed to some of life's hardest situations, whether you're being mortared in Iraq or you're in the middle of a jungle somewhere with rain pouring on you and miserable, those things make you stronger, make you better, and at the end of the day, they make you better employees, better business people, better entrepreneurs.
So don't assume anything and let people do their thing and embrace that suck. And yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
I did not summarize that as well as you said it. So.
Hey, I encourage your listeners to check out that article. Seriously, just go to at Chad Pollitt on Twitter. That first pinned article. If you really want to know my personal story about embracing the suck and how that impacted myself as a business person, it's a very intimate story that up until I wrote that article, I never told anyone about.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll link to that article, to your social media, everything that is in the show notes, everybody. If you're whether you're on Apple Podcasts or you're on the website, it's in there. Thank you for sharing that. I know for a lot of people, it could take 25 years to share anything about their experience, especially in war, but in their service in general. So thanks for sharing that. So one of the ways that we know each other is when you are the co-founder of Relevance. I had the opportunity and the privilege of writing for Relevance a few times as a contributor.
Yes, thank you for that, by the way. And those articles did great.
Oh, awesome, good. I still quote them. I still share them sometimes about like billboards and stuff. So it's fun. So thank you. You're welcome, though. What's it like launching?
Hold on, time out. Yeah. Speaking, did you hear about the newest, latest, and greatest billboard thing coming out?
Programmatic billboards?
Yes. Can you believe it? Programmatic billboards. Oh my goodness.
I know. I talked to a guy not too long ago about my day job as a marketing manager for a marketing service and print and fulfillment company. I ended up connecting with a guy who they do programmatic, and he was telling me about all that kind of stuff, and just like, man, I know a little bit. Fortunately, I know people who know a whole lot more. People like you, people like Joe, like Mark, anybody, like, man, I learned so much from people. So programmatic billboards, just incredible. How far away are we from that Minority Report scene where Tom Cruise is getting inundated with personalized ads?
Oh, man. So I know for a fact that you have not seen any of my presentations I've given in Berlin for the Native Advertising Institute. Mm-hmm. That's part of my presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I pulled a GIF. And yes, I call them GIFs. I'm not never call them GIFs.
No, it's not. It's not a graphic. It's graphic. Anyway. Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, I've actually pulled a GIF of that scene and put it in a slide full screen and let it loop. And I answer this question. How far are we? I don't know, maybe 2050-ish. The thing is, so I never jumped on the AR VR bandwagon. Yeah. Okay. But what I did do was, so here's the thing. I think VR, virtual reality, is a bridge technology to AR. Okay. I think the future of those technologies are in AR. I think Google took a good shot at it with their Google Glass, but didn't quite hit it. I think that what was that video game on the phones that came out, the AR?
Pokemon Go?
Yeah, Pokemon Go. Thank you. I think that vaulted AR forward a lot farther than Google Glass. But I think that's the future. I see us wearing contacts or glasses of some type that will augment our reality in real time. So I think the two scenes, like the Gap scene and the Guinness scene in Minority Minority Report will happen. That's native advertising in its purest form. Matches the form, feel, and function of the organic content which surrounds it, which in this case is life.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing between 2030 and 2050, but who knows? I could be wrong.
Yeah. And I don't think it's, I mean, it's funny because we talk about Minority Report and it's a bit creepy. It's a bit like, oh, wow. But on the other hand, relevant ads mean something to me. If you're actually speaking my language, so to speak, I'm more apt to do business with you, and I'm good with that. So, on one hand, all this information that we give all these, the big data world, right? Like, I'm actually not that opposed to it. Because if you can make my life a little bit easier or it's a little bit more tailored to me, I'm apt to feel more comfortable with you.
So here's the thing. I don't have my Apple Watch on my wrist right now, but technologies like the Apple Watch and others are tapping into our biology, okay? So it knows when our heart rate's up, it knows when it's down, it knows other things, our pulse. That's a big data treasure trove for targeting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice in the minority report, it delivers like a Guinness ad when they clearly know that he needs to relax because his heart rate's up and he's running and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example of a possibility for us as marketers to tap into a new, unique data source in order to deliver targeted advertising. Now, there's other new big data sources. You know, we've got smart beds now. We got smart refrigerators. I've got two damn thermostats, smart thermostats.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that data is going to be used, but it's going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a pretty wide open future, and it's exciting in many ways, and for some people, maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so I was asking about relevance. What's it like for you to have launched a publication like that, been a co-founder of it? So A, what's it like? And also, as storytellers, is that where we should be going, is doing our own? Two unrelated questions, sorry.
No. They're good. What's it like? It was very exciting. There was a lot of pressure to make it work. We ended up selling the publication to Ashish, who's a great guy, by the way. Hat tip, Ashish. Take it easy. Let me talk about the psychology behind Relevance, because there was a lot of thought put into this. So Relevance was the first digital publication to focus on content distribution and promotion. There was no other website that focused on that. You had your HubSpot, you had your different agencies out there, you had your Mazas, your software companies, but none of them had websites dedicated to content promotion, news, and insights. So the niche itself, our agency, which later was rebranded to Relevance, just like the publication. We started off as Slingshot SEO, one of the world's largest SEO companies. Our agency listened to our customers, and we looked at what their problems were. And their problems weren't that they didn't rank in Google. Their problems were that they needed distribution and promotion of their content. It didn't matter how it happened, whether it was through SEO or something else. So we chose that niche, and the truth is, I mean, I've got dice right here. We rolled the dice. We got lucky. We picked the right niche because we listened to our customers. And we also knew that volume in content matters and that quality content matters. It's not an either or game. So we decided, because I know a lot of people in the industry, we decided to try to create a community and bring people that were passionate about content promotion, news, and insights together. And from a psychological perspective, the goal was, when we hit launch on that publication, we wanted people that saw the publication to say, why haven't I seen this yet? And how come I'm not subscribed to this? Where has this been? So we wanted to look like we've always been there and that we're a big deal. So as a result, the original wireframe for the website was straight stolen from TechCrunch. We took their entire wireframe and built a website around it with our colors and our branding. We did that on purpose so that when people landed on Relevance, they're like, why didn't I know about this? So there was a lot of psychology around it. In addition to that, when we launched display advertising on the site, none of it was from Google or anywhere else. We targeted specific companies and said, hey, listen, we're going to give you free advertising on our website for the next year. And they were all companies around content promotion and distribution. Okay. And we did that on purpose, and we didn't charge them, and it made us look better and furthered the narrative of, hey, why didn't I know about this website?
Strategic, purposeful, finding your niche.
Yeah, exactly. Now, should every company do that? It depends on if they're ready to dedicate the resources. Mm-hmm. If I were to start a company tomorrow, yes, I would do that. But it's not right for everyone. If you can't facilitate a community and you try to do it on your own, it's going to take you a lot longer to realize the success. Now, with Relevance, I will say that we won a content marketing award for fastest subscriber growth for a year. We went from 0 to just over 50,000 subscribers in 12 months. Wow. And we won that award. And in fact, it's up on my shelf right up there. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice.
In fact, I'm going to go grab it. Hold on.
Look at that.
Yep.
That's awesome. And I was one of those subscribers. I read for a while before I ever contributed. So
awesome.
Excellent, man. This has been an incredible conversation, Chad. I've enjoyed it. I appreciate it. I'm going to get to my last question in just a second. Before the listeners tune out, where's the best way to find you and what you do?
So most of my content these days you can find on Empowered, inpwrd.com. Just click on the blog when you get there. I've been doing a lot of data-driven content. As you can imagine, with millions and millions of dollars being pushed through our system, there's lots of unique insights and data that I have access to, and I've been tapping into that a lot lately. So, for example, I published our top 200 ad headlines for 2018 recently that really just literally, these are the best performing, killed it, crushed it headlines for not clicks, engagement post-click. So that's where you can go and see most of my content. I've written over 10 books. The books, almost all of them are available for free on chadpolitt.com. And of course, Twitter is always a great place to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're very accessible. So, and you even have the blue check, and I have not figured out how to get one of those. Anyway, 10 books, I guess, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. So Chad, if somebody, now, so you're kind of a storyteller, you kind of aren't, but I see you as one. You told a lot of stories today. But if somebody told you, man, you're all done telling stories, you can't do it anymore, what would your last story that you'd want to go out on be?
Oh man, what would be the last story I'd want to go out on? Man, that's deep.
That's my fun one.
Yeah. You know what? I think a nice, good rant would be my style. I like a good rant every so often.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd rant about yet, but I'd figure out something good.
70 questions or so, 70 answers. That's the first time that one's come up. Every one has been different in some way, but that's a brand new category, a rant. I love it.
They're fun to write.
Yeah. They're fun to give, although my wife gets annoyed by them. But anyway, no.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, Chad, thanks again, man. I appreciate your time, brother.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Anytime. I'm always there for you, Dan.
So there you have it. Chad Pollitt with Empowered, talking about native advertising, native promotion, how to distribute your content, not just publish and pray. I love that part of it. So if you want to connect with Chad, those links are all in the show notes. So whether you're on the website, whether you're on your podcast device, those are linked there. So connect with Chad for sure. He is definitely approachable, has a ton of great information. And if you enjoyed this episode and found it relevant to you as well, share it with somebody that might get something out of it. I appreciate that. Take one person and say, this spoke to me and I thought of you. Here you go. Social media, email, texting, wherever you can share it with someone. Very much appreciate that. And if you want to connect with me, go to storytellersnetwork.com to our contact page, hit that contact Dan button, send me an email. Let's have ourselves a conversation. I want to hear your story. So there you have it, my friends. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you being a part of my community. Until next time, here's to telling stories and having those stories to tell. Cheers.